Hey guys, welcome to the video. Today we're going to be talking about your artistic goals are your own, and not everyone needs to understand them. For those of you who haven't seen any of my content before, my name is Derek. I'm a multimedia artist and digital designer. I create content about art, multimedia, design, and illustration, and anything art related that I feel like talking about. Now that we're done with the intro, I want to get right into the video. When people first set goals as an artist, they refer to the big famous artist as to where they want to go. But a lot of those artists are great when you first examine their careers. But as you go on, you realize that there's a bit of a divergence. When artists set out on growing their skills, we all start with anatomy, color, texture, and composition. We all start with the fundamentals, but how we lean on these skills and decide where our careers are going is what makes the end product change so much. Some of us want to become comic book artists, animators, graphic designers, and each of these careers goals drastically change as you look at their portfolio and technical skills. But they're all artists, they all started out learning the same techniques and foundations in art, so what really causes this change? As for my personal experience, in college when I switched from illustration to graphic design, there was a technical gap I had to overcome by learning typography, branding, and publication techniques. But the gap wasn't that extreme, and that was because I was just channeling those fundamentals into different areas. I used to make my own comic books, and you'd be surprised on how much overlap there is between comic book design and graphic design. Things started to really click once I internalized to this, but it was still a choice I made for my career, and it did take away from time from me learning other things about art, excluding the difference of design versus illustration or animation versus being a 3D modeler. A lot of these same professions rely on the same skills, but in the end, they're all different technical roles. But there's even a difference in the same type of role in industry. For example, we can compare famous artists like Hirohiko Araki, the author of JoJo's, to an artist like Frank Frazetta, the fantasy illustrator. Each of them has worked in comics technically, but they vary in many aspects. Frazetta was a high fantasy artist who wished to convey these highly technical illustrations of characters like Kohan fighting in these desolate war-torn landscapes. Then you look at Araki, and you see he also wanted this technical control of his art. Both have created action-based stories, but they have different tones and appeals to different audiences. Now this gets into what I consider the main part of the video. And these two artists are still going to be a bit of an example as to what I'm talking about. What do I mean? Your artistic goals are your own, and not everyone needs to understand them. In my last example, comparing Araki and Frazetta, they are both considered illustrators, but their art styles do not overlap. The reason is both have different tastes. Araki was an ideophile and someone who loves high-end fashion as a reference, and Frazetta loved hardcore, grungy, medieval influences in his art. They set these goals and wanted these specific types of styles, and both went through their awkward stages, and I bet not everyone saw what they were aiming for. It created a visual language only they were known for, and made sense to them. When you make art the way you want, you'll be confronted with all sorts of unsolicited advice and critique. Some of it is valid, but a vast majority isn't stuff you should take to heart, because art careers are not a copy and paste thing. You can set goals by examining other artists, but they are really only able to forge their own career because they focus on what made them unique. And what makes you unique is so different from them. Is that your career is your own, and the measure of success should be your own personal satisfaction. The worst nightmare of any artist is to be making art that is unfulfilling. One of the best pieces of advice I've ever heard as an artist is the art you put in your portfolio is the art that people are going to ask you to do. So make what you want and don't let anybody tell you different. I was talking about this topic recently with a friend, and they were comparing their art to other artists and their careers, and it's just not something that you can do. Even in like similar professions, like I pointed out with Araki and Frazetta, even within contemporary industries like animation and graphic design, everyone's path is different. It's really what you embrace about them that is going to make your career worthwhile. All right, That's the end of the video. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I'd love to hear about your personal art journey and your goals and what you're trying to do with your career. And if you're curious about my art and what I make, check out my Instagram and links in the bio. Thanks, guys.